that'll work for him in the meantime, something that's appropriate.
Show you how I do coleslaw for a crowd. I got 300 people we got to feed today. This is my little cheat code for making a quick coleslaw that people want the recipe to. I start with 2 pounds of shredded tricolor coleslaw mix.
All right.
That's the dry. I've got 5 pounds of prepared coleslaw. This stuff is mid at best by itself, but when you add it with this dry slaw and then we season it up, it turns it into something special.
Never ever thought about that. Malcolm, good morning, sir. How are you?
I am fantastic, Mr. Paul. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I told Will earlier this morning before we signed on, I said I got in a rabbit hole this morning. I get up usually here and ready to go at 3 o'clock in the mornings and trying to capture all the new stuff and make sure we get everything together that's happened overnight. But then again, I went to your Facebook page just to do a little bit of just a briefer, and I got into a rabbit hole with all those recipes, and it was 20 minutes later, 20 minutes of valuable time. And I'm sitting here looking at this, and anybody in the world who is attempting a new recipe or wants to kick it up a notch, got to go there. I thank you for joining us. Would you agree that barbecued ribs are probably going to be the number one thing on the grill in the next 24, 48 hours?
Absolutely. That's when I think of 4th of July, I think of ribs, and I was hoping that's what we were going to talk about today.
Yes, absolutely, positively. But one of the things I do want to cover with you, because recently we I got a different grill from the ceramic to just the propane, because it was faster, and just a quick meal on those. But you got to get used to, if you get a new grill, and there's so many different ones out there now, Malcolm. I mean, you're talking about the pellets, you're talking about propane, the old standby, the ceramic ones, but just a lot of different things as far as just a straight charcoal. There is a learning curve if you haven't cooked on those before, is it not? Or just that personality of that particular grill.
Yeah, every grill is going to cook different, so you really got to spend some time with it and, learn the airflow, learn how to hold those temps right where you want them.
Let me ask you this. When you're trying to tell somebody, cause it, Malcolm, I'm cooking these ribs and I don't have a lot of room for error, we got people coming over, what are some of the maybe top 2 or 3 different mistakes people make as far as ribs?
One's probably trying to rush them. You want to give yourself plenty of time when you're cooking ribs. I mean, it's not it's not a super fast cook. Usually 3 or 4 hours minimum, but I like to give myself 6 if I know it's going to take 4. That way I got a 2-hour window. But that's a big problem. And then not being able to hold those temps steady. You don't want your temp fluctuating the whole time when you're cooking, Paul. You want to be able to, at ribs, it's 250 to 275 on the dial on the thermometer, and that's about perfect. So if you can keep it right there, you should be okay.
Just wondering, too, we were just talking about all the different type of grills and methods of cooking these things. First of all, inside, in the ovens on the inside, if we don't want to eliminate those, what's the worst choice for that if you want that perfect temperature in selecting a grill?
I would say just the worst choice is going to be something that's a little difficult to run, and that's going to be your pits where you actually have to build a fire and you have to control it. You'll see the side fireboxes. They're just a little more challenging. I do believe that you can cook ribs on any kind of grill as long as you learn it. So don't think just because you got one kind of grill, you got a propane grill, you can't cook ribs. You absolutely can. You can cook them in the oven if you want to. So, we could get them cooked. We just need to learn what we're cooking on. So that's the main thing.
Some of your other directives on pre-sauce, post-sauce, seasoning, etc.?
Well, I don't like to put too much sauce on them at first because when you go to adding sugar, it'll burn on you. So we like to go with just a dry seasoning first, and I like to put it on there about an hour ahead of time before I'm going to cook them so it has time to start melting into the meat. I don't want to go more than an hour because it'll cure it. It'll turn it into like ham on a bone. You don't want that. So you don't want to leave the seasoning, the salts on there too long because it will change the texture of the meat. But once you get your seasoning on it, all you need is smoking time.
And not like steaks, you don't need to sear them to start off with. The heat needs to be constant. Will, if you have any questions, certainly jump in, sir. But the searing is not necessary as far as ribs are concerned.
Not on ribs. Now, I have done what I call a charred grilled rib, and I grilled them over hot coals the whole time. So it's just a different way of cooking them. And with those, you're just constantly turning them about every 10 minutes. It's not like a slow smoked rib, which I think the slow smoked ones are the best because they'll fall off the bone on you, and that's what people want.
Yeah. Malcom, let me ask you this. Is the major mistake probably made at the supermarket in selecting the ribs?
Well, I think the major mistake is going to be not cooking them long enough to where they're tender. But you got options when you're cooking ribs, Paul. So when you're at the store, I personally would recommend you cook a St. Louis cut spare rib. They're a little easier. They're a little more forgiving because they have a little more fat content in the meat. They're real, you get a little more bang for your buck on a spare rib than you do a baby back. People like the baby backs just because they've been made fancy with commercial, ads and stuff like that. But I think that spare rib's a better eater.
Is there a specific temperature like a steak or something at 145, or you just looking at eyeball them?
Usually I'm going to take a rib to 202 degrees internal. I'm going to, once I see that with my little instant read meat thermometer, I'm going to pull that rib off and I'm going to let it rest a little while, just like I would a steak. I like to give a rib 30 minutes to an hour, just sitting in a dry cooler to where it kind of holds some of the heat in, but it don't continue the cook process. And that seems like it just lets them calm down. It lets that juice redistribute in the meat. It makes it really, really, really good to a juicy bite.
I know that. I know that taste. And here's how it sounds. Nom, nom, nom. That's a good rib.
That's it.
If we had smell-o-vision, that would be also good, but we don't have smell-o-vision. Nom, nom, nom. That's a good rib. That's a good rib. When Malcom says it's a good rib. You guys started this thing in 2007, Malcom, and congratulations to you. I mean, you have become a dominant force in this, and there are so many people out there. I played the coleslaw thing. They don't think about that. You did it on the Facebook. Currently, I saw. I didn't have a chance to go into it, but a knockout on that cheese dip. Was it the cheese dip or? Yeah, I mean that was crazy, but. All of the love and attention you put into that, you could just. I mean, it's still on the website.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've got multiple cheese. I like it cheesy, Paul.
Oh man. Well, you started in 2007, and there were a lot of people back then saying, "Can we grow a business with the internet as the engine, the fuel?" And you've done it. Facebook dominant, Instagram, Twitter, now X, YouTube for sure, destroyed. And the Killer Hogs barbecue products, how many places are they located? Just in Mississippi or elsewhere?
Oh, no, we sell them worldwide, Paul. Recently we've got in every Walmart, every Kroger, Academy Sports. A lot of these big box stores are starting to see the barbecue whole thing grow, and their categories are growing. Yes. They're wanting to add more of these products, and it's just we've been blessed because we started out early when everybody said we were crazy for giving away secret recipes, and I just love sharing it. I mean, it's nothing more fun to me than cook something and be able to share how I did it with other people, and if people have a good success with it, I think that's what makes it all worth it in the end of the.
I've enjoyed so many years when JT had you on and just sitting there listening and always. My chance was about anywhere from 30 to 40% of going out and buying barbecued ribs after the interview. So we'll see what happens now.
I hope it makes you hungry
for a second or two.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to ask you this. We had a question come up last week on, I think it was a Wallet Hub had a survey, and they talked of the top 20 barbecue cities in the country. Kansas City, Missouri was number 1. And Memphis, Tennessee was number 2. I would have reversed those two. But one of the questions we had on the C Spire text line, what's the difference in the taste and the production of those two? The difference between a Kansas City rib and a Memphis barbecued rib. And I thought, I got the guy to ask the question to. We'll do that coming up in just a moment. I heard someone say, back with Malcom Reed, I had someone said one time that if New York actually turns politically red, it's probably going to be because of all of the chefs and cooks and restaurant owners who are angered over Joe Biden wanting to end gas for electric cooking in New York and nationwide. And I don't doubt that. He's made a lot of people mad in that facet. Your thoughts?
It cut out on me there, Paul. I heard New York and it cut off.
Oh, it cut off. I just basically said that if New York turns Republican, it'll be because Joe Biden wants to cut all the pizza ovens and the electrics and go electric instead of gas, and he's got a lot of people mad in that one.
That would turn it red.
I do want to get back to this one. The question of Kansas City, Missouri being number one is, I think, subjective at best, but Memphis was number two in ribs. What is the difference between those two?
And I think you're right. That should be reversed. Memphis should be one. But that primary difference is Memphis is known for its dry seasoning. So it's not necessarily a sauce town. We do have barbecue sauce, but we're known for that dry rib. Mm-hmm. And Kansas City is a sweet and saucy. You're always going to see spare ribs in Kansas City. They're never going to do baby backs. In Memphis, we're known for baby back ribs too. But that's the primary difference. You think a sweet and saucy St. Louis cut or spare rib over in the Kansas City area, and then in Memphis you're going to get your dry season. You will have some sauce, but you're going to get baby backs, and you will see some St. Louis cut spare ribs.
Is that a tremendous influence of the long-standing history of the Rendezvous, that restaurant there?
Yes, they're known for their ribs. That's why people go there. But it's a Greek-inspired ribs. A lot of the restaurants in Jackson that had a heavily Greek-inspired influence, that Rendezvous restaurant does the same thing. It was the Virgos family. Yeah. They started that years and years ago, and they've always done that charcoal-grilled, Greek-inspired rib that's a baby back rib, dry seasoned. They don't serve it wet. They don't serve it saucy. It's sauce on the side.
Bubbanopoulos, our resident Greek here, has a question. You got one, Will?
Yeah, I got one question. Tell me about when you smoked this gator, because I was going through some of your videos, and I don't know, that one just caught my attention, and I've never thought about smoking a gator.
A gator?
Yeah, talk about that, Mike.
I'm going to say this. It looks really cool, and yes, you can smoke a gator, but there's a lot of better things out there to eat than that old swamp gator. I promise you. It is not the best. Now, I've had it fried, soaked in buttermilk, fried, and a lot like you would catfish or something like that, and it's pretty good that way. But when you smoke it, it's just a different texture, man. I don't know. I wouldn't really keen on it. It's edible, but it would not be my first choice.
I'm thinking, what else? A coon? I don't think I'd want to smoke coon.
I've had smoked coon. Now, I'm going to the World Squirrel Cook-Off here next month over in Springdale, Arkansas. So I know a thing or two about squirrels.
Yeah.
Squirrel, when it's done right, Malcolm, and like a stew. I've only ever had it in a stew, and it was delicious. It was amazing, but you have to do it right. And the only person who I knew that could do it right, our next door neighbor, she passed away many years ago, and that's the last time I ever had it.
Well, and
you just got to cook it tender.
Is rabbit with the gravy. So it's the same way, which leads me to this question here, though. When you're talking about wild game like that, whether it's squirrel or rabbits and everything else, there's a multitude of ways that have been passed down through the families and generations of how to prepare that. Soak it in milk, or what's your advice on that?
Well, you got to get it tender. That's the one thing. So I would say I like to use buttermilk. Buttermilk and hot sauce is your friend. Even rabbit and squirrel, it does fantastic. But we'll put it in there and it starts breaking it down. It starts helping it get tender. And it does take the wild game, but a lot of that wild taste is just not preparing it right. I think that once you learn a good solid technique or a recipe on how to cook it, that's the main thing with wild game. It's really easy to overcook it. It's really easy to do. And then to not get that wild taste, you got to know it's been properly butchered.
David in West Point, I'm getting a couple of briskets. You guys are making me hungry. Sean and Clinton, he's making me hungry. 601 Smoke Gator is good. And a lot of, I think we're selling some food out there. I cannot let you go without talking about another passion of yours, which is also of mine beside food, and that is the Palmer home. I know that is coming up real soon, and that's been something that's been dear to you also, and I thank you for that.
I've had a good relationship with SuperTalk for a long time, and it was because of the Palmer home. JT asked me to come on and just talk during one of the radiothons just to break up the political talk and talk about something that everybody loved, and that was barbecue. And so when I got introduced to Palmer home, I think they were headquartered in Columbus then, yes. But we moved to Hernando, and now they have a big campus, and they're headquartered here in Hernando, Mississippi. So me and my wife just wanted to do everything we can to help these guys out because they're doing such a great thing for the kids. And they're not only are they taking care of them, they're raising them to be really good citizens and be productive members of society. And they're giving them a chance where they might not have had one.
You go over there and cook at all, or have you?
We recently we just did. They had a skeet shoot. I think they call it sunflower and khakis, but it's we do all the lunch for them over there. And when we get a chance to do something for the Palmer home, we're absolutely doing it.
Well, and it's one of the things we've said for years, too, Malcolm. When you go there, I mean, no matter where you're from, and that's just how a lot of corporate sponsors happen, when you go there and you see exactly what's going on that campus, and you see what these kids, and you're told some of the backgrounds where these kids come from to where they are now, it's just... It really moves you in a way that it can't when you just hear it on the radio or something else. So, and we encourage anybody to do that. If you're looking for a place as a corporate sponsor to invest some money as one of your good deeds and give back, man, take a look at that. I'll call Drake. He'll get you in there anytime, give you the tour. Absolutely will. Well, I got a
wonderful people,
here.
Beautiful place.
They are. Competition. Where are you off to next? Are you through with it?
I'm not through with it, but we've been doing a little more demos than we have competition. So I'm actually headed up to Grand Rapids, Michigan next week. I'll be up there at a barbecue store, shaking hands and giving out barbecue.
So you're continuing to spend. You're working on. It's called, by the way, Killer Hogs Barbecue Products. What all's in there now, Malcolm? And you keep expanding the line.
Yeah, man. Of course, I've got the barbecue stuff, but we've added some other seasonings. Like I do have a Greek seasoning. I've got an Italian. I've got a Mexican seasoning. I've got a jerk rub that I do. We do sausage seasoning. So if people like to make their own homemade sausage, I've got a hot and spicy sausage. I do pickles and I do hot sauces. So I got a little bit of all of it going on.
Who takes care of your social media on a day-to-day basis?
It's kind of a group effort. I got my buddy Tyler that kind of heads it up for us. He does a fantastic job, produces our podcast that we do. I'm sitting in my podcast studio now. We do a weekly podcast, and he helps us with that. And then we, of course, we put videos out on all the social platforms. So it's a full-time job just keeping up with that.
Isn't it amazing how many questions you get? It's just, and you think they've come to the end of it, but they're endless. Every single day.
Every day. We've got a great community on Facebook. We call it the Let's Get to Cooking community. And that's exactly what it is. It's for questions and it's for answers and it's for people to come. And there's no dumb question. Don't know it. It's not dumb. Ask for the answer. And people will jump in and help me answer it. So it's not just me having to give all the feedback. And it's really turned into something great.
One of the things, by the way, Michelle in Oxford said the Killer Hog seasoning are delicious. We use them all-purpose one. We use the all-purpose one on just about everything. Well, you can't go wrong with that one.
No, that's right. That's right. And, hey, we're going to be in Oxford, Paul, here later this month, too. There's a Circle and Square brewery that we're going to be cooking some barbecue and passing it out and just hanging out with people there in Oxford.
I was going to ask you a couple of other things, and I look forward to maybe getting you back on again anytime. It is always a pleasure and a good dessert to the politics we do for the most all day long, all morning show long. So I thank you, sir, very, very much. Happy 4th to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Paul. Happy 4th of July to everybody there, too. And I hope y'all put some smoke in the air. We'll see you next time.
You got it, my man. Malcom Reed. Go to YouTube, Instagram. It's all there. And watch out. You'll be in a rabbit hole for a while. We got